Welcome to Astrology Talk, two professional astrologers discussing the month ahead. That's me, Christina Rodenbeck, and my friend and colleague, Sally Kirkman. Welcome to Astrology Talk. I'm here with my friend and colleague, Sally Kirkman. And I'm Christina Rodenbeck from the Oxford Astrologer, and we're here to talk about the month ahead. This month, we are going to focus a lot on Jupiter in Gemini, which is a really important astrological feature of Jupiter. It's just gone into Gemini at the end of May, and will be in that sign for a year. So we want to discuss what that means for each and every sign in some detail. But first of all, as usual, we're going to do a bit of retrodiction, find out what's been happening in the month behind, and we're going to discuss the sign of the month, which is Cancer, of course. So, Sally, how are you? What's been happening?
Hi, Christina. Hi, everybody. Jupiter in Gemini, hey? It's just speeded life up like there's absolutely no tomorrow. In a good way, I think. I like being busy, so that helps. I'm good when I'm busy and I've got deadline and I've got lists and things, but it feels really, really fast, Jupiter and Gemini. I've been going here, there and everywhere. I've got a lot of road trips and journeys, which is very Gemini, all this movement, isn't it? And therefore needing to be quite organized. I've been sorting out data, sorting through things, just getting things done. So I've quite enjoyed it. Been very busy, been very social, a lot of noise, a lot of people. But there's kind of stillness within the movement somewhere.
Oh, that's good to hear. There's no stillness here.
Okay.
Yeah. I too have been sorting out data, as my subscribers will know. So thank you everybody who's subscribing, and thank you for bearing with me as I kind of sort things through. And I actually am also having a Saturn return, exactly, which has been quite interesting because I have Saturn in Pisces. And something, on the weekend, one of the exact Saturn return, I had two, and this doesn't happen to me, right? This is not something I participate in particularly, but I had two different esoteric groups to which I was invited to participate. And both of which were, looking at whatever you want to call it, the left-hand path, the mystic path, to whatever it is you want to call it. Enlightenment is too much for me. But it was quite interesting because one was very welcoming and one was not very welcoming.
Okay.
Although I've been invited to both, and it was like I was just given a choice. You take this one or you take this one. So I made my choice, and I thought, that's very Jupiter and Gemini, the two paths opening up before me. But it's also very Saturn in Pisces, because Saturn in Pisces is a priest. It's a religious or spiritual wisdom. It's spiritual wisdom. That is Saturn in Pisces. And there I was having these kind of Saturn in Pisces encounters as I was having my own Saturn return.
Interesting.
It was very interesting. And it will continue because, of course, as everybody here knows, your Saturn return is not something that just happens like one weekend. It's a process that takes a year, really, or even 2 years. And for those of you who have Saturn in Pisces, which would be people born in the mid-90s and the mid-60s. Is that right? Yes, that is right. You're having your Saturn return, and those of you who have that Saturn around 17, 18, 19 degrees are having a very intense time in the moment because Saturn is what's called stationing. It's standing still on that spot, which intensifies it. And your Saturn return, although Saturn went into Pisces last year, it didn't get this far last year. And now it's really happening. It's really there. And as again, as you may or may not know, I mean, Saturn return is considered a very important moment astrologically. And it happens at least twice in your life, maybe 3 times if you live to a great age.
Yeah, it's really powerful and important. On that note, actually, if people want to know more, I'm part of an astrology summit, soul-centered astrology, and it's on my website at the moment. I'm doing a talk on Saturn, Neptune, and the sacred, looking at Saturn in Pisces, and also this, Saturn and Neptune are growing closer and closer, aren't they, in the heavens as well? And they're going to make this major conjunction in February 2026. So, do check out my website if you're interested in that. Yeah, it's a Saturn return, and I mean, both Saturn and Neptune will turn retrograde this month as well. So that's going to be a big part of the month coming up. But we are moving into Cancer season, which we've got the solstice, haven't we, on the June the 20th. So this month is June 20 to July. Is it July 20 or July 2022? Must be the 22nd, actually, the sun goes into Leo. And actually, just on that note, because, I mean, the solstice is either the longest or shortest day wherever you live. And I did have someone saying, I thought the longest day was June the 21st. And of course, the sun enters Cancer this year on June the 20th. So we kind of think of the solstice as when it's aligned with the sun moving into the cardinal signs. The solstices and the equinoxes, Aries, Cancer, Libra, Capricorn. And the sun moves into each sign slightly different every year. It's not kind of exact. It shifts within 24 hours. So sometimes it will be June 21st. That the sun moves into Cancer. Sometimes it will be June the 20th. It moves in, and this year it just happens to be on June the 20th.
That's why we have leap years, guys. It's because it's not exact. So we have to catch up every 4 years to make it. Otherwise, it would be, it would be boring, actually. It would be boring if it was exactly the same every year.
Yes, it would. It would.
We would be living on a different planet as well.
Yeah, so, I mean, the sun moves, Cancer season. We're moving from air Gemini into water Cancer. I mean, it's interesting, isn't it? Because you kind of think you're going from the busyness of Gemini to the sort of flow of water Cancer. I don't think Cancer's a kind of still star sign at all, actually, because it's ruled by the moon that ebbs and flows. And most Cancerians I know are actually quite moody and, they're sort of up and down. I mean, it's not steady and stable in that same way. There's a kind of flow about it as we move into Cancer season.
I think it's a very different kind of movement, though, from the Gemini movement.
Yes, agreed.
I think of Cancer more as being still but in motion, which is quite an interesting thing. So you're like a pool of water with eddies flowing through it. Whereas Gemini is one of those very distracted, all over the place signs, because it's both mutable and it's an air sign. So that is like wafts of air. It's birds, it's flight, it's freedom, Gemini. Whereas there is something much more contained about Cancer. So the moodiness can be it's much more internal. So it's an internal sign instead of, if we're making sweeping comparisons, it's an internal side and not such an external sign.
Yeah. And I do, I know I've got a friend who's classic Sun Cancer. And she's happiest at home where she lives. She doesn't really like going out into the world much. You have to pull her out. So there's something about, she really likes that kind of nesting side of Cancer. She wants the comfort and she wants the security and the safety, actually, I think. So, yeah, she's not. And she needs that in her life. Not all Cancerians are like that, I think. But, some are. And I think that's because it's a cardinal sign. So you do get some Cancers who are, they want to lead. They want to be more active and more engaged with the world. But, my friend is, she's a double Cancer, actually, Sun and Ascendant. So she really enjoys that nesting side of Cancer.
Yeah. I mean, Cancer is the sign that we associate with home and homemaking, isn't it?
Yeah.
And the Cancers I know are collectors of something. And I do think of the Cancer in their shell, decorating their shell with other shells, or whatever it is that they're collecting. My brother-in-law is a double Cancer also, and he is a great collector of stuff. And in fact, his house is kind of, it's lined with his stuff, as a protective shell. And that's also very Cancerian. It's can be quite literal, the creation of the shell.
Yeah, I'm thinking because you're calling, the word you're using is a lovely word, collector. You could also call them hoarders, couldn't you?
Yeah.
I can't let go of this.
Yeah.
I'm holding on tight to it. Those little, Cancer pincers holding on.
Yeah. I mean, there can be issues around cash, for instance, money. It's one of those ones. And actually, I've known a lot of Cancerians who've run their own business and they've been very good at it because they're good at holding on to the cash.
Yeah.
They're not kind of spaffing it around on whatever. They're calculated. And also they create these little families, which is good for running your own business too.
Yeah, wherever they go, they create family. I mean, I know Cancers who don't have, they say, well, I'm not a family person. Then you find out what they do. And they're just, they're looking after their employees and they're creating family wherever they go. So it's the water signs, they need those emotional connections, don't they? They're empathic. They want to make connections.
Yes. And it can be very hard, actually, because, it means so much. So you can end up choosing not to make connections if you're a Cancer because it's too much, too emotionally overwhelming. And it's a sign that gets emotionally overwhelmed.
And incredibly sensitive. I mean, really sensitive to criticism. I mean, be wary with the Cancers in your life. Be wary what you say to them. Don't be too direct. Give it the soft touch. Because they're very vulnerable. If you think of the crab, their zodiac symbol, it's the hard shell on the outside. And it's this little soft underbelly that wants to hide away. So yeah, you have to be they're very sensitive. Very sensitive creatures often too. So, it's kind of important to think about that.
So shall we dive into this Jupiter and Gemini business?
Jupiter and Gemini.
Yeah. What do you think?
Yes, because we want to, it's been so major. We've been talking about it a lot, how it feels like life is speeding up with Jupiter and Gemini. And it's such a big deal because Jupiter's in one star sign for the whole year. So we're literally kind of at the start of it, really. And we didn't touch on it a lot last month because last month was so busy. So we thought we'd talk about it now as well. So let's do it. Let's just go for it.
So I think we just start with Aries, right? What do you think? I mean, so Jupiter in Gemini for Aries is all, it's all about talking, isn't it? Communications, travel. This is what's going to be major in your life. You may take a big journey. You may study a course. It's a really good year for you to deepen and widen a skill that you've got. Your siblings may turn out to be really important. So wherever Jupiter is in relation to your sun sign or your ascendant, is going to be an area which becomes magnified, is the best way to think about it. So magnification does not have a value to it necessarily. It's neither good nor bad. It's just more or bigger.
Yeah, and I mean, Aries ascendant here. Already what I just talked about at the beginning. I'm here, there, and everywhere. I'm list ticking. I've got lots going on. Social life is speeding up. But I think it's a good one for Aries because, Aries likes life speeding up. It's kind of, let's engage. Let's get out there. Let's do things. So yeah, it's a kind of nice placing, I think, for Aries.
And the first thing that you happened to do was to go somewhere with your sister and your nieces, which is also classic because this is the house placement that's about sisters and brothers and those relatives, the people that walk next to you in life. It may be your neighbor, it may be a sibling. They become more important, and they also are the place of luck. Okay, boom. Let's go to Taurus. What do you think?
Cash. Well, it's your money sector. This is a really interesting one, isn't it? Because Taurus, you like money. You're the money person. We have dear darling Rishi Sunak, who is our Taurus symbol at the moment. It's the money sign. So you've got Jupiter moving into Gemini. I think really, because it's just been such a wild time with that Jupiter-Uranus in Taurus, it's probably a good time to get the finances organized. I mean, hopefully they'll expand. Hopefully there'll be more opportunities coming your way around money. But I think also Jupiter in Gemini wants you to kind of really focus on finances, get savvy with finances. It's Gemini. So, it might be that you're looking at different income streams as well with Jupiter and Gemini, but it's money where, Jupiter's encouraging you to put your gaze.
Yeah, and I just want to touch on the fact that you, Taurus, have had Jupiter in your sign for the last 12 months. It's been pretty torrid for some of you. It's been up and down. And that's because this magnification that Jupiter brings was magnifying Uranus that's in your sign, which is the sign of rebellion and ups and downs. So it's been a very up and downy Jupiter transit for Taurians. And really, I mean, I've seen people have big highs and big lows with this. It's been amazing to watch how it's affected Taurians. And it's not really been in your hands. Like stuff's happened. It's just come in and out. I've seen quite a few people who that it worked in relationship as well. So they got into a relationship at the beginning of it and are already out of that relationship, but it was a life-changing one, or something like that. So it's affected relationships. And also I've noticed that it already started affecting money because, Jupiter in Taurus was about money already. For a lot of people, not just Taurians, seem to have very big bills. And that's one thing I want to say about Jupiter in your second house. It can mean big money coming in, right? But it can also mean big money going out. So you may find that you have big expenses or unexpected expenses. This is Taurus. But at the same time, you're able to earn more. You attract more to you. You're more valuable. And it's a really important thing to remember that your value with Jupiter in the second house may really go up. So you should be putting your prices up if you're freelance, for instance, going for the job that pays more because you're more valuable with Jupiter going through your second house. Okay, Jupiter in Gemini. For Gemini, what's going to happen, Sally? Boom.
Well, this is an interesting one, isn't it? I mean, what do I know about the Geminis? I know Geminis who are they're really, I think they're looking at life and looking at what next. I think this is what Jupiter can do as well. It gets you to think, am I living the life I want to live? And what else do I want or need? So the Geminis are standing at this precipice of a year when with Jupiter, anything feels possible very often. It's kind of like, oh, the world is my oyster. Maybe I'll do that. Maybe I'll study this course. Maybe I'll take that trip I always wanted to. So it's very much, Jupiter in your star sign is getting you to look at who you are and what you want for yourself. And I think it really brings you back to your personal, who you are, the person you are. If there's a lot going on outside, it's all right. What do I want? What are my values in life? Where am I heading? So I think it often kind of expands life, but sometimes because it's Gemini, you might not know which direction to go in. And I think this is the thing that you need to, perhaps you need to also learn where to say no as well as saying yes. So you don't take on everything. Get really clear with Jupiter in your star sign about the big vision, what's most important, and head for that.
I agree with all of that. And what I would add to that is Jupiter is a planet that is about generosity. It's about giving. It's about sharing. It's about teaching, right? So, for example, maybe you're actually a teacher of some kind. Maybe you're going to be teaching a course. What is it that you're going to share? And because it's in Gemini, this is about sharing ideas and knowledge and words. And it's also a planet that's about learning. So again, for Gemini, this is a fantastic year for deciding to learn something, whatever it is, doesn't matter, or deciding to teach something. And think about that in the broadest terms. And also, it makes you lucky, okay? Don't just look at what happened to your Taurus friends because they had the whole Uranus thing to negotiate at the same time. For you, it's much clearer. This Jupiter in Gemini it's not got that other outer planet to deal with. In fact, what it's got is Pluto's energy helping. It's got a helpful ray from Pluto to start it off, right? Okay, so where are we? We've done
Cancer
Gemini.
next.
Oh, Cancer. Hello, Cancer. Happy birthday again. What do you think?
It can be quite a spiritual transit, I think, when Jupiter's in the most hidden sector of your chart. It turns your attention inwards. And Gemini wants to kind of learn. It wants to work things out. So, it might be a time when you're on a spiritual path, or it might be a time when, you decide to, I don't know, read a novel every week. But it's your inner life. The focus is on your inner life and what's important there. If you are a typical Cancer, you're probably someone who can get quite anxious. There's this ebb and flow. So again, it may be looking at ways of learning to control the mind a bit or work with the mind. Mindset things would be great with Jupiter and Gemini too. So it kind of feels very internal, whereas Jupiter, for Geminis, it's all out in the world. I think for Cancerians, it's turning inwards.
There are two things I would add to that, which is it's fantastic if you're creative, and it's great if you're a dreamer. And I mean that really seriously, a dreamer, right? So those dream journeys, like, that the inner world, your inner world is magnified, okay? Including the imaginal world, not just the imaginary world, but the imaginal world. In other words, the world, depending on what your spiritual path is, but that path of the inner vision. I don't even like the word inner because actually it's the point where the inner becomes outer. And that is what's so amazing about a 12th house transit. And this is what you're getting. And Jupiter here is really wonderful, but it may mean that you feel like retreating from like real life a bit. Leo, what about Leo then?
I'm going to let you start, Leo Ascendant.
Why is that, Sally? Well, for you, Leo, and that includes me, Leo rising, it's about groups and teamwork, really. It's a very good placement. It's considered to be very lucky to have a Jupiter transit through this aspect to either your ascendant or your sun. So Leo ascendant and Leo sun, it's lucky, okay? But this is called the house of the greater benefic, right? Greater fortune, sorry. So it's going through the house of greater fortune for you. And this is the planet of greater fortune. And your fortune lies clearly in thinking about the future and, thinking big about the future, thinking far into the future. And it lies also with cooperating with other people. So this is all about cooperation for Leos, which is kind of an anti-Leo thing. It's not about going your own way and doing your own thing. It's about being part of the team, leading the team maybe, but teamwork is the key.
Yeah, for Leo, it's find your tribe. That's kind of, and also because I know for Leos, it's been quite an up and down time with the Jupiter Uranus in your career sector. I know Leos who are kind of, there's been some big changes, not always easy. So I think also this Jupiter in Gemini is reminding you to be around the people who lift your spirits, be around people you enjoy being with, focus on your social life too. If work's been kind of a bit of a roller coaster, make sure you have something outside of work to fulfill you.
And there's people in your team or in your social life who make your life bigger. Okay. So as I was saying at the beginning of this podcast, I had these couple of esoteric groups that invited me along. And one of them made my world bigger and one of them made it narrower. And so it was a no-brainer which one I was going to choose to hang out with. I don't want my world narrow. I want it bigger.
Yeah, and that's also perhaps another thing with this Jupiter and Gemini. You might have too many friends or groups, Leo. So it's kind of, get decisive about which are the right ones for you.
Yeah, Virgo.
Virgo, yes. And let's just say that, as we mentioned, Rishi Sunak, Taurus, Keir Starmer, Virgo. Theoretically, very good for career. It's at the peak of your horoscope. Both Virgo and Gemini are ruled by Mercury, so it's kind of with Jupiter in Gemini, you're likely to enjoy this. It's kind of, you know what this is about. You're going to be good at kind of schmoozing, charming, finding the words to get what you want. So really, really good time to focus on where you're heading and why, and just go all out in your career. I mean, it's a big year for you with Jupiter and Gemini. And big yourself up. Virgo's not always good at that, but big yourself up. Write your CV, tell people how brilliant you are, sell yourself.
I want to go back to Keir Starmer, who unfortunately we do not have his birth time, but we know he's a Virgo sun. And he does go on and on about how he's the son of a toolmaker, I've got to say. And his background is humble. He's ever so humble. And he does emphasize that, and he wants to be of service. So Virgoan. And that is going to go down extremely well, I think, this year. That kind of Virgo humility is actually a very fantastic change. It's a wonderful change. It's like a glass of cold water, after having had very kind of, chocolate with cream on top, and I don't know what we've been drinking in the last 10 years in this country, but, Kool-Aid, we've been drinking the Kool-Aid, but it's a glass of cold water, and that's what you're here to deliver, Virgo. And this Jupiter at this point in your chart does tend to improve your status, right? So it's a very good for getting married, for example, to make an announcement about your status, or for having a child, or for having an exhibition, for showing yourself off, and for doing something public. So this is an extremely public placement, which is, again, a little uncomfortable for Virgo. You're not a showy-offy sign, but just know that you can't hide, right? There's nowhere to hide this year, so you have to deal with that.
Or getting qualifications and getting a new title as well, I think, is often Jupiter in that sector of your horoscope.
Such as Prime Minister might be the new title that you get. Not that we're making any bets here. No, we are. I'm pretty certain, aren't you?
Well, Jupiter, we've talked about this in the Taurus podcast, didn't we? Jupiter-Uranus conjunction this year, it's often a time of social change. And in this country, it seems to be, a change in government. So we've said that.
Libra.
Libra. Let's go traveling, Libra. Let's get out into the world. It's your travel sector. I know a Libra who's already looking ahead to wanting to go traveling this year. So, I mean, that's the big one. Or study. This is lining you up. When Jupiter's in this sector of your horoscope, it's lining you up ready for your kind of big leap year next year. So when Jupiter moves into Cancer, that's Libra's career status sector. So it's kind of also looking at what are you leading up to as well? Do you want a year off now so then you can focus on career? Do you want to study something so that would help you get a new job, a new role? It's kind of, but it is very much, I think, Jupiter and Gemini for you is also about freedom and expansion and being in the world. That would be my kind of take on it.
I think that it's an excellent placement. Okay, this is something you need to know, that it's in a fellow air sign. It's lucky, it's smooth. Whatever you choose to do that involves expanding your horizons, whether that is dealing with foreigners in some way, or traveling, or going back to university, all of these things just work really well with this. And again, it's about, don't forget that Jupiter is a planet that is also about teaching. So you may take a job as a teacher in a foreign country. That would be a classic Jupiter in the 9th. And it's lucky. We were talking about this before the podcast, because we were talking about the wars that are going on at the moment, and how they are wars which are to some extent between siblings, right? Between people who, and that when you get a war, it's like an opposition, right? And the only way to stop that happening, the only way to peace, is to have a third way, have a third thing come in. And this is something that is very strong in astrology, the idea that the trine aspect, the three-way aspect, is the beautiful aspect, it brings the peace, makes the change, whereas the opposition can just go back and forth. And it's interesting to me that we've got Jupiter in Gemini, which again is the sign of the siblings, so this magnifies what is that relationship, the sibling rivalry between, say, in Sudan, for example, or Ukraine, and the place that's closest to us is obviously Ireland, Northern Ireland. And peace did not come in Ireland because of people blowing each other up. It came because of trying through negotiation, through talking. And talking is an air sign thing. And the reason I'm going around this Libra, for Librans, is also because this is a place of courts, that ninth house, and negotiation and talking shops, and that kind of area. So that may be somewhere that you really thrive, or something that important happens. You may have an important case going on. And a lot of Librans are involved in law.
And interesting you're talking about this. Libra is the classic diplomat and negotiator, aren't they? They make great judges. So, so it's kind of maybe thinking about what role you're going to play as well in your own life, your own community. Okay, Scorpio. Money. Well, Scorpio is one of the money signs. The Taurus Scorpio axis, both interested in kind of money. You get a lot of Scorpios working in the stock market, or that kind of aspect of money. So Jupiter in Gemini is one of your money sectors. So it may well be a time when you're looking at new ways of making money. How do you use your money to make money? Also with Jupiter in Gemini, again, a good time to get finances more organized, put your gaze on the future, where you're heading, and how can you work things out financially. And this, with the Pluto trine your planet Pluto in Aquarius in your home and family sector, it may be a time looking to buy property, have a mortgage. There might be inheritances you're dealing with, a link to the past as well. But for me, the main thing, apart from the esoteric side of this placement, there's money is a big one.
Yeah, that I agree. And also you may end up taking out a big loan, and it's not a bad thing to do at this moment. So therefore mortgage. Obviously the esoteric side, this is the house of death, sex, regeneration. It's a very, very interesting placement to have. It's an interesting transit. And it's what's under the stone. You're turning over the rocks. So there's a whole financial thing going on, but you may also be looking deeper into your own psychology. You may be studying psychotherapy. You may be studying something like astrology. This is the house of like those esoteric subjects, those hidden things, hidden knowledge, and it's also a place of secrets. So some secrets may come out. You may discover some family secrets during this year, or it's a great year for sort of family archaeology, doing the family tree, looking deeper.
We'd love you to support our podcasts and our websites. Christina and myself, Sally Kirkman, we both write newsletters. Christina has a membership site at oxfordastrologer.com, monthly horoscopes, an art salon and more. And I have a weekly newsletter, which is at sallykirkman.com, with weekly horoscopes and astrology updates. They both support our businesses, so please do take a look and subscribe.
Okay, a Sagittarius. Haha.
Opposite star sign, other people. It's a classic one for getting married, isn't it? Jupiter, when it's in your 7th house, your relationship sector. Either someone comes into your life, you meet the love of your life, or you'll find that a lot of Sagittarians end up, getting hitched this year. It's it's proposals, Jupiter and Gemini. There's someone you want to marry, let them know.
Yeah, it's really good for your social life in general. More people, new people, exciting stuff. It's your own ruler, Jupiter over there. So the only downside is that remember that other people probably have more power than you do. Yeah, so you just let them do their stuff. Be receptive, Sagittarius. Have fun. And you're probably going to meet some really interesting people this year.
Yeah, and I think it's often when you've got Jupiter in your 7th house, it's a good time to get the right people on your side. Find the right lawyer, find the right advisor, find the right expert. Get people to help you make your life better. Draw those people in, attract them to you. Same if you're looking for a business partner, you'll get them this year. This is the year to attract the right, the good joint venture, the person with the money who can, fund your business, fund your ideas. So it is about attracting in the right person as well.
Yeah, I completely agree with that. It's a great year for finding the other. Whatever that other is. Capricorn.
Yeah. Okay, Capricorn. Busy. It's likely to be busy, isn't it? Crikey. I mean, this is in the sector of your chart that's to do with the everyday, the routine, your lifestyle. So obviously a good year to focus on your fitness and well-being and your health. But also I often find, Capricorn, it could be sometimes too much going on. You need to be a little bit careful again what you say yes to, because this is a busy sector of your horoscope. It could mean that your work takes off and you're juggling lots of different balls within your work too. And there's a lot to deal with on the everyday. It's that kind of feel with Jupiter and Gemini for you.
I agree. It's all about work. I mean, but then, Capricorn likes work, so that's okay. So it's kind of nice. You're going to have a lot of work to do. Yay! Just don't overdo it. That's all. And watch your health, right? So Jupiter here can be helpful for health, but it can also cause you to push the envelope, and so don't be organized, which of course is another thing Capricorns are perfectly capable of.
Yeah, it's a good time to delegate well, get your time management skills up to scratch.
Aquarius.
Nice one, I think, for Aquarius, huh? Really nice. It's in the sector of your horoscope that's about the good things in life. So it is about focusing on what you enjoy and what you love. And as Christina was saying, this is the good fortune planet. And this part of your horoscope is to do with luck. It's kind of, it's the place of speculation when you trap luck into your life. So, maybe you enter competitions this year and you start winning them. That kind of feel with Jupiter in this sector of your chart. Children as well. I mean, it's the children's sector, isn't it? So, it's what you're giving birth to. So more kids coming in. Pregnancy, births, there's often announcements around that when you've got Jupiter and Gemini.
Yeah, it's really creative in all of its senses, right?
Yeah.
So babies, books, paintings, whatever it is that you want to make, dance, choreography, whatever. Do it. Be creative. Take risks. And creativity is about taking risks, isn't it? It's about being prepared to fail. And you should just be brave, but with any creative risk.
Yeah, and it's hobbies. I mean, it's focus on your hobbies. Turn a hobby into, if you really go for it and you really do the thing you love, that is what can bring you success moving forward. So it's about thinking long term with those skills, talents, hobbies too. So the final one is Pisces.
Yeah, it's time to move into the castle or the desert island or whatever. Your footprint. This is about your roots and your footprint on the world. And that is quite an interesting kind of, that's magnified. It becomes important, and it may be that there's very simple astrology with this, which is it's a really good year for real estate deals, right? Move into a bigger house, have the extension. Your property may become more valuable if you happen to own your own place. Or it can be, alternatively, it may be a year where you travel a lot, because your horizons are bigger down where your feet are, if you see what I mean. So you may be actually going on a big trip, or going to live in a foreign country for a year, or permanently. It's a time when the place that you live becomes a place of bigger horizons, and you can interpret that how you like, but it doesn't mean always that you move into a bigger house. It can mean that you just take flight.
And I think it can also, it's interesting. It's in Gemini, so classically it'd be living in two different places. It is wanting kind of variety where you live as well. You might be wanting to move things around. You might have family moving in and out. You might be moving in with family. There's this sense of movement wherever Jupiter is, particularly. So it's around your home and family. It doesn't feel like staying still in one place. It feels like bringing something new into those areas with Jupiter and Gemini. And again, for Pisces, it's your planet as well. So this could be an area that's lucrative to your home, your family.
Yeah, you may actually be having tenants. I mean, that's a classic one, isn't it? That you get a tenant in. And also another classic one is that you get there's a new baby that joins the family, and that may be a grandchild or a niece or a nephew. It may not be directly your baby, but your family gets bigger. The family that you're creating this bigger and bigger network.
Yeah, or you become a foster parent, and
exactly.
You look after other kids as well.
There's more people in the house.
More people. It's busier at home. Great. Okay. I hope that's helped everybody, because this is this is for the year ahead, so it's really important to focus on it.
So we should actually look at the month ahead now, just quickly. It's not there's not like huge stuff, but there are some really. The solstice is really lovely because it goes solstice and then full moon instantly, doesn't it? Solstice, full moon. So the full moon is on the morning of the 22nd in this country, but that's the night of the 21st. And anyway, whatever. It's that full moon period, and it's a nice one, isn't it?
It is. It feels a very the solstice feels social, convivial, because the sun is still close to Venus, isn't it? And Mercury. During the solstice and the full moon, we're kind of talking about both. But yeah, I mean, it feels convivial, social, but also I think this full moon feels particularly dreamy, because at both the sun and moon are both exactly square to Neptune. It's not obvious if you're looking at the chart, because at the full moon, the sun's at 1 Cancer, the moon's at 1 Capricorn. Neptune is at 29 Pisces, 56. It's really closely square to those planets, just not, it's not shifted into Aries, which would make it more obvious. But Neptune's there. So I kind of like this full moon. It felt, when I was looking at this, I thought, that would be a really good full moon to kind of go off on retreat, go and set up a mountain, climb a mountain on your own, and just sort of, allow yourself to dream, imagine, ponder. It kind of feels like a really good full moon for letting your dream world take over.
Yeah, I would say that it's a very spiritual full moon. Actually, I'm thinking of the ritual of drawing down the moon. This is the moon to do that in. Which is bathing in the moonlight, bathing in the moon reflected in the water, and that's what I really feel about it, because this is it's actually the sun's in a watery Cancer now, and as you say, Neptune is incredibly empowered now because it's at this vital degree of Pisces in its own sign. It won't be, this is a big deal. It's coming back there, right? So it's not left Pisces, it's not leaving Pisces yet, but it's a big deal that it's at the very last degree of the entire zodiac, and so it's amazingly important for this idea of the imaginal world. The world that is the other world is very alive at this full moon moment, and this is a moment for really connecting to the universe. Pisces is the universal sign, This is not about what do I want, who's better about me, blah, blah, blah. This is just make the connection. That's all you need to do.
Yeah, and it's often it's the collective unconscious as well, isn't it? It's interesting. The other thing that I think is quite nice with this, during this full moon, it is the moon in Capricorn ruled by Saturn, and Saturn is also in Pisces. So we keep getting pulled back to this duo of Saturn and Neptune in Pisces. And as you were talking about right at the beginning, there is something very spiritual about this placing of Saturn. So it is a time, I think, to focus on faith. We all need, hope and faith more than anything at, certain times in life, and it feels like one at the moment. So find your faith, find the place where you can go, where you can tap into something beyond yourself. And I think that is for Capricorn, it feels really powerful. And for Pisces as well during this full moon, I think in particular, those two signs in particular.
And it's interesting that we were just talking about this idea of like opposition and how that can be quite unhealthy. It's okay. We like it in synastry and stuff, but it can end up with things being ponging back and forth. And one way to alleviate an opposition is with a beautiful trine aspect. That's easy. But the square is also, which is what we're getting from Neptune, is also a way of alleviating that an opposition. It creates this T-square. It's very dynamic. It feels like a powerful spiritual release might happen at this point. Very interesting if you've got a birthday around there. It's going to be a very interesting year for you. Okay, so because we've spent quite a lot of time talking about Jupiter and Gemini, I think we have to skip straight to the new moon.
Okay, just before that, I just want to mention that, both Saturn turns retrograde on 29th of June and Neptune turns retrograde on 2nd of July. So this is sort of the big theme of that. And we talked about the spiritual aspect of that. But also with them both turning retrograde, also for me, there's a sense of think about where those planets are in your chart and what you might be turning away from or what you're leaving behind. And I'm saying that because I know some Geminis, and I kind of touched on this a bit, I suppose, in the when we were talking about the Jupiter and Gemini, who are kind of getting ready to leave one chapter of their life behind. For Gemini, this is in its career future sector. They're looking at possibly ending a job that's been going on for a long time. So there's this sense also with when planets turn retrograde, what are you wanting to give up or what's shifting? What's about to go into reverse? And to kind of be in charge of that, to have a view on that and look at what's, starting to reverse a little and where you might let things go, let things be over the next few months before they turn direct again. So just to sort of have that eye on what's happening too.
Very important. And that's particularly important, obviously, for Pisces, Gemini, Virgo, again. So Virgo, this is, and actually, when you talk about letting something go, that can be true. But also, it may be, the thing that you're letting go may be not being in power. You take power. I'm just thinking back to this Keir Starmer thing. Who's going to be having that change? What does that mean? Who's his partnership going to be with, really? And also it's, for him, it's like your rival may just dissolve, for example. And it's interesting, the other big political figure who's Gemini is Donald Trump. It'd be interesting to see what happens with this big change of Saturn and Neptune both going retrograde at the same time. Why am I having balloons?
If you're just listening in now, Christina just suddenly had a lot of balloons go up. I don't know that. I don't know what that's about, Christina. But maybe that's some kind of something happening to Trump.
Yeah. The balloon is going up.
Balloons are going up. There's a good omen coming from this Pisces opposite me.
Yeah, the balloon's going up.
The balloon's going up. And can I also, I mean, we're just talking about all the mutable star signs. Sagittarius, I think it's also super important for you what's happening, because this is at the base of your chart. So it might be something shifting to do with your past or to do with your family as well. This theme is playing out there. So, but yes, let's have a look at the new moon chart, Christina.
5th of July. And into the 6th, really. So it's that night. Yeah. Well, it's new moon in Cancer, obviously. And again, I think it's pretty nice. The main thing for me that bounces for me with this one is that it's opposite to Ceres exactly. The asteroid Ceres, which is in Capricorn and has been in Capricorn for a while. And, it's something about motherhood, parenting, and whether, no matter how you're a parent or your parents, is important here, because not only is it the asteroid of parenting, of mothers, of being a parent of adult people, or, bigger children, it's also the moon. The new moon itself is hidden. This is the dark of the moon. But it's also in the signs of parenting. Cancer is a sign of mothers. And, if we're being really kind of literal, Cancer is a sign of mothers and Capricorn is a sign of fathers. This is the dad and the mother signs. And so there's issues around parenting with this new moon, I think.
Well, isn't that interesting? Because, this is Cancer season, and it is a time when it really focuses you on family, doesn't it? It focuses you on your family. For everyone, Cancer season, it's about, okay, come back to your loved ones, or sometimes your not so loved ones, but come back to your family, and this is really a time to look at that. Who are family in your life? What do your family need? What do you want when it comes to your home and family? Again, when we're bringing it very literal, that's what this is about. And also, this new moon is at 14 degrees Cancer. So also there's the closest aspect to a planet. Again, we've got Saturn pulled in. It's making the sun and moon and moving towards a lovely trine aspect with that Saturn in Pisces. So there's something about finding your feet this month, knowing what makes you feel stable, secure, safe, and really focusing on your foundations. It's an interesting month because looking at it, it's quite sort of light. There's a lightness about this month, but also when you get a safe base, or when you get the foundations in place, that's what's really important. That's what matters. Come back to that. Keep coming back to that. And then, you can move on from that.
Yeah, I think I agree with you. I think it's an affirmation of who's important, who's next to you. I was just thinking, actually, I'm having a family reunion that weekend.
Good.
Yeah.
Excellent.
Enough, which is perfect, and it fits in, and it's an affirmation of the next generation, because the older generation is dying. They're really, really on the way out. And so it's the affirmation of the children, and their cousins, or their, the cousins that are now once or twice removed, actually, the much bigger family, and confirming those connections, no matter how distant as well, is actually a useful thing to do for your, for the people that are coming after you.
Yeah. And again, just a lovely new moon. Moving forward off this new moon. So from the 5th of July onwards, where is this sense of newness? Where's this sense that you can make a fresh start? So, I'm just thinking for Libra, this is in your career sector. It's in your vocation, future sector. For Aries, home and family. Cancer, it's about your personal goals, and Capricorn, relationships. So when you're looking at the cardinal signs as well, what's starting, what's new, what are you wanting to move forward into? Where do you want to be proactive off the back of this new moon?
Yeah, and I would say in the following 2 days, because actually the moon goes from the sun to Venus. And so that's it's nice. These are two nice planets, and it's going from that opposition to Ceres, which is nice, to this conjunction with Venus, that moon within the following 36 hours, I think. So there's something happening there that is very flowing.
Yeah, Venus she's been lovely for a while now, hasn't she? Because she's been close to the sun. I mean, she's still just within orbit, this new moon. And as you say, then the moon moves on to Venus. And Venus is love. It's the things in life that make life good. It's what you enjoy. It's doing more of what you love. Finding the simple pleasures in life sometimes with Venus, I think. What's free and cheap, do more of it. And, and be indulgent, treat yourself and the ones you love too.
There's one more thing that I just want to say, because I think we have to wrap up. It's just about what Mars is up to throughout this period, which is that Mars is actually going through Taurus through up until the 20th of July, right? So the whole time we've got all this other stuff happening that we've been talking about. Mars in Taurus is finishing off some of that stuff that happened with Jupiter in Taurus for the last year, I think, or making it so. It's like we thought about it, we talked about it, there was a lot of yelling, and now Mars is making it so. It's like the planet of action is in that particular part of the sky, and it's really important for the Earth signs, right? So it's important for Taurus. It's like now you've done all this stuff with the Jupiter in Taurus. Now move forward, and make it so, make it happen. You may be leaving a lot of stuff behind. It's like you start out on your journey.
Yeah, and I was just going to say as well, we've got the Mars-Uranus conjunction on July 15th. So exactly. As these planets have moved through Taurus, Jupiter, and then the other inner planets, they've all had this trigger with Uranus, which, as we know, is the live wire, the catalyst. It's when sort of things switch back on. So that could be a really key date. Things could happen fast on that date. But just be wary, don't take accidents or do anything bonkers on a Mars-Uranus. It's notorious for acting without thinking, and then...
It's accident prone. It really is.
It's accident prone, so be wary of that too. But
it's also exciting because it's actually taking action on something that Jupiter started, it's taking that further. So if you're like a Taurus and you think, oh, I don't have Jupiter in my sign anymore, or it's not exciting anymore. Actually, it is quite exciting because now it's like Mars is much more, it's much easier to deal with in some ways than Jupiter. Jupiter's bigger, a big, blousy, out of control planet, right?
Blousy.
Love it. But Mars is not. Mars is like taking actions, cutting through. It's doing the stuff. And so wherever Taurus is in relation to you, either your ascendant or your sun, this is an important place of action in the coming month.
Yeah, it is. Just do it is Mars, isn't it? Just do it.
And so also, the fixed signs. Obviously, this is going to be, so that's Scorpio, Taurus.
Aquarius, Leo.
You may have something quite pivotal happen during this period. Well, Sally.
Well, Christina. I feel like we've talked a lot, Jupiter and Gemini.
I know, we're packing in the information in a very short space of time, right? That's the idea.
Yeah.
And we're so busy, both of us, that we have this on schedule. Gotta go. Done.
But lovely to be with you all.
Yeah, see you next month.
Take care.
Okay, bye.